Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on StayGoldGun.com. I'm JP Blunt, and today we're looking at the FN249S. This is of course the semi-automatic only version of the squad automatic weapon that has been in US military service since 1984. It began its life in Belgium in the early 70s, designed by Ernest Verviers, the designer of the FN Mag, also known as the 240 Bravo. It began production in 1977, and FN gave it a very interesting name, the Minimi. This always reminds me of Vern Troyer, and like many a dorky name, it's French. It's short for mini mitrailleuse, which is French for mini machine gun. It feels sacrilegious to make fun of the French in the Forgotten Weapons tribute video, so I will say they have a pretty badass national anthem. There are some lines in there about watering the fields with impure blood. It gets wild. This gun is a unique design in that it's not just a redesign of an earlier weapon system. So many machine guns through history and even in use today are just that, redesigns. The FN Mag, for example, is a redesign of the Browning automatic rifle from 1918 with its tilting bolt design and riveted side plates, just like any great John Browning design like the 1919 or the Ma Deuce. The MG3 is a product improved MG42. The H&K 21 is a roller locking G3 design adapted to belt fed. The UK 59 from Czechoslovakia was a redesign of the Bren gun. The M60 was a redesign of the Lewis gun, and on and on. So this gun with its stamped sheet metal receiver and rotating bolt is pretty unique. Its uniqueness was really on display in its trials because it was going up against the H&K 23A1, which, like we discussed earlier, is just a belt-fed 5.56 G3, and you guessed it, a heavy-barreled M16, because the US loves Eugene Stoner. The Minimi won the day, but when it reached the troops, they complained of some sharp edges, getting burned on the barrel, so it entered a product improvement program where they added this heat shield to the barrel, they removed some of the sharp edges, they removed the two-position gas selector that the Minimi had that allowed it to have a second position to run in adverse conditions or if the gun was very fouled, and they replaced the stock with this now kind of iconic stock, which allowed for the addition of a hydraulic buffer system that reduces perceived recoil. There is one comparison I'd like to make, and I don't know if FN had access to this gun to draw inspiration from, but it really reminds me a lot of the PKM. The PKM is generally regarded as the greatest general purpose machine gun of all time. This is my Hungarian parts kit that's not assembled yet. And if you take a look at this long stroke gas piston and rotating bolt and this stamped sheet metal receiver, take that for what it's worth. I thought it was kind of an interesting comparison. And also it's fun just to look vaguely at the PKM. Many people have described the AR-15 as Legos for men. The 249 to me is like a Barbie for men. You can dress it up in so many iterations, and you can feed it in so many different ways. You can get the soft ammo packs, 200 or 100 round. You can feed it with regular Stanig M4, M16 magazines. You could put in this Surefire 60 round magazine and you can feel like Gridlock from Rainbow Six Siege. You can add this paratrooper stock. You can add a paratrooper barrel. You could get an FN Minimi barrel, take the heat shield off, have the two-position gas system. You can put the 249 ACOG on here. You can put a EOTech on here. You can set it up in so many different configurations of guns that have been built based on the Minimi, the 249 Para, the Mark 46. Once you've spent king's ransom to get the gun, then you can spend even more money to dress it up. So I guess maybe it's the American Girl doll of guns. A couple of elements I can't leave out here is that, of course, this gun has the always deadly shoulder thing that goes up, as well as a tactical supply area in your pistol grip for you to keep any candy that you might need, Skittles, or in my case, Big Chewy Nerds. If you buy a 249 and you decide you want to play dress up with it, I would recommend buying the Para version, because the military Para barrels are shorter than 16 inches, so they're not the legal length. And the Para stock is like 6 times as expensive as the regular stock. So you get an added value by buying the 249 Para that has the legal 16-inch barrel and the more expensive stock. The Para stock does actually have the same hydraulic buffer system, and to collapse it, you just pull it out, twist it to the side, and then push it in. This and the shorter barrel make this pretty compact, mini me type of setup. All right, let's take this thing apart. The first step is to remove any belts or magazines. That's another unique thing about this gun, is it can be fed from either a belt or from a magazine. Check and make sure it's all clear. Lift the top cover, push in these 2 pins on the back. Lift the feed tray, check the chamber, look for any links that might be in the mix there. Then push this lever back, slide the barrel forward and off. Part of the field strip is to remove the heat shield, but it's a huge pain, so I'm just going to leave it on there. Then the 249, because it's semi-automatic, it has to fire from a closed bolt due to ATF and their great rules. So FN has included this manual bolt hold open device, which is really convenient for removing the barrel so that you don't have to manually hold the bolt back. Push in this top pin on the stock. You can tilt this all up and let it rest on the bipod and the stock, which is pretty convenient. Then you lift up on the recoil spring assembly, pull this out. Another unique to the 249S element is this additional spring. This is because they've added a slide hammer assembly, which is what allows you to fire the gun from the closed bolt. Instead of the whole bolt being held by the sear in the fire control group, it just holds back this slide hammer assembly, and when you pull the trigger, this goes forward, hits the firing pin, and sets the chain of events in motion that fires the gun and puts it all back into battery. This is the bolt carrier bolt and piston. You can remove the bolt by just sliding it out there. Remove the stock entirely by pushing in this lower pin. Set this aside, and then the fire control group will basically fall out of the gun. Like many machine guns, it has a very simple fire control group. It's just a sear block that holds the bolt carrier in place, and when you pull the trigger, it lowers, releases the bolt carrier. In full auto, it would just continue to fire until you release the trigger and the sear catches the bolt. In this version, it just releases the slide hammer assembly, and then also at the end of the trigger pull, it resets itself so that it catches it every time. Next, you remove the hand guard Got my universal firearm disassembly tool here, the ballpoint pen. I push this from right to left. You can slide this off the bottom. Then you remove the gas tube, turn it 45 degrees, and pull it out. Then you can remove the bipod, and there you have your Field Strip 249S. It has a dust cover here for the ejection port, and a little dust cover here for where the charging handle runs through. To put it back together, it's a very similar setup. Put the bipod on. Next, you insert the gas tube. There are little reliefs in the side that have to be vertical to get it in here. And also there's a detent that holds it in place, and you have to push against that spring tension to guide it into the receiver. Then you turn it again to 45 degrees. Now it's locked in place. So we'll put the handguard back on, find the spot where the pin goes in, and then next we'll not go in the exact order we did to take it apart, because it's simpler to put the barrel in, and then you can put the whole gun and rest it on the barrel and the tripod, which makes it a lot easier to put all these parts back in. So we'll guide the piston in, and then you line the bolt up on these rails that it runs on. You can slide all that in there. So the slide hammer assembly has rails that it rides in the lower part of the receiver. Let that go in there. Put the recoil spring back in. It says side up on the side that you put in upward. Little slots in the back here that it slides into, holds in place. Then you add the fire control group and the stock. Slide this pin through. Tilt the stock up. Put this rear pin back through. Then rack the action, and you'll see that the slide hammer is being held in place by the fire control group, and it's all ready to go. Mini will say, I can't believe you wasted your money on such an expensive gun, but there are different reasons to buy guns. One of them is a tactical, practical kind of mindset where everything you buy has to have a purpose and it gives you some sort of tactical advantage. But there's also an element of just enjoying guns, the way they function, the engineering behind them, the recoil impulse, and the history behind them. And to me, the idea that you can buy a semi-automatic belt-fed gun that is built by FN and it's made in the same factory using a lot of the same parts as the military 249s coming out of South Carolina is amazing. And I would never want to miss the opportunity to have one of these, and I'm so pleased to have it, and I'm excited to take it out, do a lot of shooting. I got all these belts loaded up. I want to do a kind of torture test. The magazine feed element of the gun is supposed to be just a last ditch effort kind of thing. I've seen that it can wear down the feed lips on a magazine, so I was thinking I would take a brand new magazine and then just run it through the gun as many times as it would until it failed, and that would be an interesting test. There are a lot of cool things to try out about this gun and check out, so I'm excited to do so. Thanks for watching, and as always, live, laugh, love.